Last time my intro was cut off a little bit, so I'm just gonna sit here and bop for a couple more seconds. I started talking in my stream from last week, and a lot of the intro was kind of cut off, so hello everybody. It is Wednesday night, so it is time for another talk with Livia Jade, Pagan Priestess, Psychic Medium, Healer, and Facilitator. I really do look forward to these every single week, you guys. It's really nice to just connect and drop in and do a little talky talk. How's everybody feeling? How's everybody doing? I'm super excited for the topic today. I am going to be going over all of the deities that I've worked with. And for those of you who might not know, this month I celebrated my 8-year anniversary of starting my spiritual journey, studying world religions. Thank you. Studying, they both start with ST. And since the beginning, I had resonated with certain figures, and just it was very natural the way that these different guides kind of came to me. And one thing I want to make clear here before I get into the story time is that you will have your forever team of guides, including deities, angels, ancestors, but you'll also have a select few guides who come in during a specific era of your journey to help you through a specific chapter or a pursuit or a thing or a piece of shadow work, whatever. And then they'll kind of move on. And I've actually heard a lot of witches and pagans and mystics talk about this specifically with deities, of like they work with you for a little bit and then they kind of pass you along to the next god or goddess that will help you best on this path wherever you're going next. And I think that's cute. I think one little kind of friendly community sort of idea to think that, oh, they all know each other, they're all friends, like they're all here to help us, and they're just kind of passing us along to the next best, I guess, mentor. I think that's really sweet, honestly. So if you guys have any questions throughout the stream about how to work with a deity, if there are signs that you're experiencing yourself about like, oh, I think so-and-so is reaching out, how do I know for sure? I have experience with all of that. So I'm going to be going through these gods and these goddesses with you. And I'll be sure to kind of take a break in between to check on the chat and see if there are any questions arising. You can also ask questions about these specific deities I mentioned, but I will say that everybody tends to have their own unique experience with them. They do have their own like traits that they're known for and their personality and stuff like that, but everybody's going to experience a deity in different ways. So don't take what I say with a grain of salt. You might have a different experience that is more resonant with what you need for your journey, and that's totally divine. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So I started my spiritual journey summer 2018. It is summer 2026 now, as of me streaming this. And from the very beginning, the very first figures that came to me were Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, and Anubis, the ancient Egyptian god of death and change. And ruler of the underworld for a little bit. Apparently he stepped down for a time. There's like lore and mythology that goes along with that. But basically, I called them my mom and my dad because I thought that their traits kind of came together in me as a single being. And so what I mean by that is I was able to see their correspondences. I was able to see their specialties and be like, oh, this and this happened in my life, and also this symbolism, and also this. And so I'm going to kind of share with you guys very briefly sort of what that looked like. So for Anubis, not only did I have a fascination with ancient Egypt. I literally did a project in 4th grade where I made one of those, those like hanger mobiles where it's like a blurb and then like strings attached to note cards, and it's like facts, and it's a like a research project essentially. That was literally me in 4th grade with ancient Egypt. And with me being a water sign, water is associated with change. And in paganism, water tends to be associated with death specifically. So I thought, oh, that's really significant. But also with some of my previous experiences, I had a hard time dealing with change as a kid. It was hard to transition and to kind of find peace in moves. And so like Anubis helps you with that so much, because he is in essence change itself. So that was really cool for me to kind of tap into. And then with Aphrodite, this is a fun fact that not a ton of people know about me, and I appreciate your open-mindedness in advance. As weird as it might sound, I have never been broken up with my entire life until my very most recent relationship that ended almost a year ago as of me filming this live. And it's really funny because Aphrodite came through actually because I first worked with her and connected with her all those years ago, back in 2018, as I'm describing. And all these years later, once this thing happened with this disembodied masculine, she was like, girl, that doesn't count. Like, what? And I'm like, no. Well, because here's the thing. He broke up with me, but I actually left. Does that make sense? Like, he did that disembodied thing where like, oh, I'm uncomfortable, so I'm going to degrade our, like, not degrade, what am I saying? Like, make the status of our relationship lower, like lower the tier, lower the commitment, right? And I just want to keep you in my life though because I like you, but I don't want to like commit to you because I don't want to do the work. So that's kind of what happened, unfortunately. And I, being in my divine feminine reclamation of that, obviously. So I was like, you know what? I can't do this. You can't be in my life. I literally called him and said, I can't have you in my life anymore. So it was a few weeks after that that Aphrodite was like, girl. So anyway, I just want to say that though, that yes, technically that relationship is the only one where the guy broke up with me. In all of my other relationships throughout my entire life, even the silly ones in middle school and elementary school and stuff like that, I would always be the one to break it off. And so I thought that was so interesting with Aphrodite, but also one of the very first, like, how do I describe this? Self-love was something that I struggled with for a long time. So that was something that she, like, her essence was very powerful in helping me with. And the fact that I didn't always feel beautiful, especially in elementary school. You had to be blonde and you had to have blue eyes and you had to be popular and rich. And I was not that. So my self-esteem was kind of beaten down by people from a very young age. And it kind of continued. So I'm so grateful for this beautiful, powerful goddess of love and beauty to help me with those things in that phase of my journey. So I'm looking over to the side because I'm just making sure I have all of my notes here with this. A very, very cool, well, a few experiences I'll get into just really quick about Anubis before moving on is that I had quite a few meditations with him. I would do like audio, like guided meditations with Anubis, and coming face to face with him in these visions. And I just remember there was this one, what was it about? I think I was trying to confront some of the, and these were like the beginning stages of my work. This was like the very beginning of shadow work, the very beginning of awareness of like all of my trauma for the very first time. So it was like a lot. And so it was one of those meditations to like, maybe it was like a meet your deity, like meet your spirit guide ones on YouTube. And I was watching it, and I just remember feeling so much love and being seen and having so much understanding of my own life and my experiences kind of like come on me like a ton of bricks. And then I remember half of my face, I think it was the right side. I was face to face with Anubis in this experience. I was in deep meditation, but I started seeing visions. And a single tear rolled out of my right eye. And as you know, in ancient Egypt, there is the Eye of Horus symbol, which technically, according to some beliefs, it's the Eye of Horus and the Eye of Ra. Apparently, the Eye of Horus is like the more positive kind of protective symbol, and then the Eye of Ra is like a evil eye kind of evil symbol. It take what you will from that. There's different beliefs surrounding that. Some say it's one and the same, like it doesn't matter what direction the eye is facing, you know. But I just thought that was so interesting that the single tear came out of only this one eye. I immediately thought of that symbol in that moment, and I thought that was very significant. So, final story about Anubis here. I remember I had gone to and trigger warning just in case for you people, I will be mentioning just mentioning a car accident. Okay, so if that upsets you, I will not be offended. If you want to click off the reading or mute it, click off of the video or mute it for like the next few seconds while I talk about this. I was in a movie theater with my family a few winters ago. And this was when I was with, so 2 boyfriends ago. This was a couple of years ago. And we were in the movie, and you have to silence your phone in the movie, but it was really snowy out. I was still living in the north at the time. And I remember getting out of the movie and seeing all of these missed calls from my boyfriend at the time. And my mom also had missed calls. And apparently he had gotten himself into a snowdrift, and he had sent a picture of us, of his car under this mountain of snow, like with like the headlights were out, like it was totally buried. And I was upset. Clearly, I was like, oh my gosh, my boyfriend that I love tried to contact me in a life-threatening situation, and I wasn't there for him. So that was not okay. I remember the movie theater was literally, after the movie, we saw the messages and the missed calls. We got in the car, we went to my parents' house, and I was like, let me go to see him, let me go to see him. They're like, it's way too horrible on the roads. It's true. There was no salt. Nobody had shoveled or plowed yet. There was like a thick layer of snow. Like everybody was sliding on the street. It wasn't safe. And even my boyfriend's mom at the time, because he was like the same thing, because they have like multiple cars in their family, you know, so he wanted to take another car to see me. And his mom was like, no. And so both of our parents were just like, no, you guys stay home. And I remember kneeling next to my altar and crying and just feeling like, oh, like I could have lost him, like da da da. The way that a tall, dark, solid force came in behind me, and it wasn't commanding. Here's the thing about Anubis. He is not like a dominant, like alpha male kind of energy. He is very grounded and solid. It's kind of like a brick wall sort of with him, but it's so like there's no anger, there's no passion, there's no like heightened like war-like emotion or like violent emotion at all with him. He's just a solid, grounding, dark force. And so I felt this come in behind me, which was such a surprise. Because I was in a state like I wasn't even thinking about spiritual stuff at all. I was like totally 3D, totally kind of upset and freaking out about the situation that unfolded. My mediumship senses, I felt him come into my room, and he's standing there, and he actual words, but I can feel what he's trying to convey to me energetically in my intuition. And he literally said, why are you upset? This is a part of life. this is unavoidable. Like, whether it happened or it didn't happen, it's neutral, because this is what this experience is. There is life and there is death, you know? And I sat there kind of frozen in place, because it, again, very strong energy, not dominating, strong. And I was just sitting there, still kneeling on the floor, just kind of frozen, because like there's tears on my face, and I'm just like feeling this presence and this energetic communication. And then it fades away after a few minutes. And I just kind of stood up, like reset. My energy was kind of grounded and balanced in that moment. Isn't that so interesting? So those are my very first deities I ever worked with. And from there, we fast forward into, I'm just going to go chronologically, between summer 2018 and now summer 2026. These are the deities that made appearances to me throughout my journey. So from there, we move from, so I still had a relationship with Anubis and Aphrodite during this time, where these other beings came in for me. And I know they're not deities, but honorable mention, I was very close with the archangels for a while. My daily ritual was the banishing pentagrams ritual. If you know, you know. If you don't, just look it up on Google. It's a pretty good protection ritual for beginners. I was given it by a mentor of mine from the past, and would call in the different angels, you know, protection, the different directions, like da da da. And then I would also call in, I think it was Michael and Raphael specifically, at night to protect me, because I was still experiencing yucky, scary type of mediumship that would disrupt my sleep in the night. If you know, you know, the nightmares, and you wake up seeing shadows, blah, blah, like all of that kind of stuff. So I actually have a whole separate video on my channel about the time that I touched Archangel Raphael on accident. And yes, it was an accident. And yes, I did touch him physically as if he was like a embodied person. It was wild. So if I remember, let me just write it down really quick. I'm going to put it in the description for you guys later. Okay. So, angel vid link. Okay. So yes, I was very close with them for a while, and Michael has a very brotherly energy, very big brother energy, like big brother in a good way, not capital B, not capital B, big brother, like the conspiracy thing. No, like big brother energy. And then kind of at the same time as that era, because now we're in the space where I had transferred to a 4-year university. I had Anubis and Aphrodite, the archangels, and then Hestia came in. Hestia, the Greek goddess of the hearth and home. And oh my gosh, she did wonders for my family. The dynamic, the like, she just brought so much peace. And she calmed the chaos in a way that to this day I'm so grateful for. I think she really changed the game for me and my relationship with my parents. And it was in a way that I did not expect at all. She kind of came through and I was like, okay, cool. Like, I can learn some stuff about healthy family stuff. No, she actually did the work energetically. She released layers and healed cycles and patterns and a whole bunch of stuff for my family. Like, it was really, really powerful and really cool to experience. So I'm so, so grateful for her. And then, you know, maybe about a year or so after these, a year or so into all these relationships kind of thriving, unfortunately, we're getting to the point where I did join a Keylontic science cult that rejected all witchcraft, paganism, ancient traditions, all of that. So I had a session with Anubis, Aphrodite, and Hestia where I thanked them for their help and for their presence, for everything they did for me. And it was kind of like a respectful sort of like, hey, I'm going to go in a different direction with my journey. And I channeled messages from each of them. And I'm just thinking right now in this moment, maybe I could have had my notebook out to read it to you, but that's kind of personal. I didn't ask their permission first, so if I would have received that idea sooner, then maybe I could have prepared that for you guys. But since I didn't ask, that's a symbol of respect. I'm not going to let you guys in on that energy and those messages just in case they wouldn't want me to share that. But it was a nice, like, I don't want to say it was a goodbye, but kind of. My relationship with deities forever changed after that era of my life. I mean, for a time in the thick of it, I did not associate, I did not speak with, I did not connect to, I did not acknowledge any deities whatsoever from any culture. And it was very much from a place of fear, but also the dogma that I was taught of, like, these beings don't have your best interest at heart. They are not actually God consciousness. They're a few dimensions below God consciousness. Just all this crap. So I'm proud of myself that, when was it exactly? I had not fully left the cult. This was a few months before I left the cult. It was the summer before I studied abroad in Florence, Italy. The final year of my 4-year university experience. And this was a powerful moment because I had not connected with, like I said, because of that experience in the cult, I have not connected with any deity. I didn't feel safe to. And so when this started happening with Loki, the Norse god of chaos and mischief and illusions, it was totally unexpected. And I was, frankly, I was not in a place to receive that. So if anything, that kind of validates it to my mediumship senses, that I was seeing these symbols and I was having these things happen, and I wasn't making it up. I wasn't seeking him out. It was just something happening around me and near me that I saw. And so he came in, as if you've worked with Loki, you know that he is the ultimate figure of identity and authenticity and knowing and accepting the self in every way, in every category. So I remember the summer before I went to Italy, I kept seeing horse statues. And as you know from the mythology, as you might know from the mythology, there's a point in his stories where he transforms into a horse. And so I delivered food to this house, that it was a giant house, giant property, huge statue. It wasn't made out of actual gold, probably, but it was a golden statue with 3 horses rearing on their hind legs back to back in like a circular formation. And I was like, that's very specific. It's very interesting. And so from there, I just kind of kept seeing, online content of like the Marvel Loki and like his like symbolic kind of like animals and stuff from the actual mythology. And it was really, really interesting that when I actually got to Italy, a lot of those experiences started getting way more specific in the mischief territory. I think I talk about it in some of my other content, but basically a story that stands out. I mean, the jokes that he's played, like there was one time I was filling up my gas and it automatically selected the middle tier instead of the cheapest. And so nowadays, and I knew it was him because it was during this arc. I call it the Loki arc. I have a whole document dedicated to everything he helped me with, particularly not only just with identity stuff. It was also confronting, and in a lot of ways, he actually personified and mirrored to me the toxic traits in men that I still found attractive at the time. Certain kind of toxic darkness sort of things. And he helped me see it for what it was and to release it, basically, which was very, very powerful. I wasn't aware of these narratives and these kind of loops taking place in my field from societal programming, but also previous hurt and the results of trauma, honestly. So it was really, really powerful. He took the full, like, embodied approach of like becoming that and making me uncomfortable, but then we would like talk about it. Does that make sense? So it's like it was really, really cool. But anyway, the gas thing happened, and now I immediately, every time I buy gas, I hit the cheapest immediately. Like as soon as I can, I touch the cheapest so that he doesn't beat me to it. And then I had like a drink in Italy that I saw was like, it was in a bottle. I saw that it was like not filled all the way, and I was like, oh well, I must have opened it and drank some of it because I was in a rush. I was trying to catch a train, and so I pick it up on my way out the door with my purse and everything. I twist the cap and it wasn't open, it cracked open, and I was like, oh. But then I looked at it and it didn't look like anything was drunk out of it, and I was like, that's a he just took my drink and then like spit it out, give it back, I guess. Like that's that's so silly. So it was just things like that, like the mischief kind of sprinkled in on it. I had some dreams too, but definitely probably one of the funniest instances with Loki was, guys, it was like 10:20 p.m. and I had class the next day. And because in Italy, I was fully enrolled in like, I was in 5 classes. It was full time. All these classes were 4 credit for my degree. There was no messing around, no wine tasting and cooking classes, okay? Like no art classes. I was there on business. So it was 10:20 p.m. I had to go to bed. I was tired. I had class the next day early. And there's this freaking housefly. I'm trying to like sit on my bed and like finish some homework, and it's like coming so close to me. It's like buzzing all around my head and in my face. And it was freaking me out. I'm like, ew. Because as some of you might know, like a regular run-of-the-mill black housefly, it's just like on a wall somewhere. Maybe it's flying around a window. No, this one was like on me. And I'm like, ew, it's aggressive. Why is it on me? It was like freaking me out. So like, ah. So I had like, I think a broom in my hand or something, and I was trying to chase it out of my room. So I opened my bedroom door. I'm chasing the fly out. It goes out the door. I slam the door shut. And now this next detail is very, very important because for those of you who may have been to Europe, the house that I was in, the doors do not have gaps like they do in the US. Like you can look underneath a door, and especially I know I harp on them too, the bathroom stalls, like the gaps and like how not private most bathroom stalls in the US are. And like even regular like bedroom doors, like I'm looking at my closet door right now, like you can look underneath it because there's like a gap. And sometimes gaps, you know, on the side or along the top, whatever. That's not a thing in Europe at all. They are fully formed. There's actually a lip. So it's like putting a puzzle piece together. It's like the door frame, but then the door hangs over the frame a little bit in like this thin little slice of wood. Does that make sense? So it's like totally sealed off. This is significant because there was not a gap under this door. So why did I see the fly that I just spent 20 minutes chasing out of my room crawl under the door? And then it sits there for a second as if it's looking at me, as if it's mocking me. And then it gets up and flies again. And I have to freaking chase it out again for another 20 minutes. And then finally it went out, I slammed the door, and it didn't come back. So I'm like, dude, like I can't make it up. Come on. I'm like, what the hell? Oh, so a very powerful arc with Loki. That lasted a little while. It lasted maybe, because it started that summer of 2022, and I think it went until late 2024. So that was like a long time where he was kind of showing up. We were talking. He was mirroring certain toxic traits to me, and I was like reacting to them, and channeling messages in sessions with him and stuff. So that was really, really powerful. Next, we have, this is like getting into my Texas era now, is Persephone. So Persephone is the Greek goddess of both spring, and the underworld. And I saw this beautiful art that someone made on Reddit where it's like a half and half on a piece of wood, I believe. It's like wood burning with like ink on top. And it's her dark side and her spring side. And in my feminine reclamation journey, sacred feminine, both divine and dark, the light aspect and the dark aspects, it's actually all sacred. It's actually all divine. And so she has been such a powerful figure with helping me reclaim that in myself, fully see myself in that way. I studied her mythology and the different interpretations of it, especially with Hades. I mean, Hades has popped in for me just a few times. Nothing really that close or intense or anything like that, but certain very specific moments, just on the fly, he would kind of come in and like give me a little nugget of wisdom and then leave, if that makes sense. So I spent a lot of time with Persephone. I had some sessions. I gave her some offerings. We kind of have this agreement going where every time it's the dark half of the year, I kind of leave her be because she's in the underworld with Hades. And so she's like, yeah, you don't have to give me offerings during that time unless it's like really special or kind of like a darker theme. Because usually in the light half of the year during spring and summer, I give her like tropical fruit smoothies and flowers and like art drawings that are very colorful and stuff like that. So yeah, she is like of service the most in the light half of the year, where she is here on earth with us, springtime, her mom fertilizing the earth, woohoo, and then, you know, the dark half of the year is with Hades in the underworld. So that's been really, really cool to spend time with her. And then after that was Kali Ma, the Hindu goddess of, oh my gosh, I mean, transformation, the breaker of chains. She destroys demonic energy, energies that keep us down, energies that are not supportive of our ultimate expression and creation. I mean, she's arguably both creation and destruction at the same time. And that is something, if anything, that has deepened my sacred feminine reclamation journey, is having that duality and being the same person. Because as some of us might know, in the patriarchy, it is acceptable to be flowery and pleasant and beautiful and skinny and like so obedient as a woman. So she is very much the full spectrum of what feminine power really is at its core. It's loud, it's messy, it's dark, it's like so earth-based. I'm trying to capture it, and it's hard to put into words. There were moments where I had candlelit meditations in the dark, especially the winter time 2024, and she was there with me and she gave me blessings, and she had taken away, like helped me shed old versions of myself that would be quiet, would shrink myself. And she took that away from me. So I made a promise to her during one of these like sessions to be my full self without fear. And if there was fear, to be brave. And she's just so powerful and beautiful and like kind of feral. But she's like lovely. She's not like scary. People see art of her with like the tongue out and the teeth and like the blood and stuff. I love her. She's like actually scary in that sense. Because I'm a woman, she's not scary. I don't know. But I mean, if anything, that just further amplifies what I've been saying about her, is that she is creation and destruction at the same time. And so knowing that and seeing her example of like, I don't put myself in a box. I am not to be put in a box. I am a full, multifaceted being. And I'm seeing a question in the chat here, actually. I'm going to go ahead and answer it. How do offerings work? How do you know when they are accepted? So you can definitely, there are a lot of lists online, but also in books about what deities prefer. Sometimes there's certain foods or alcohol or flowers or plants or things like that. But also, if you make your offering personal to a deity, whether it's like especially if you combine it with their correspondences and with your own way that you show love. Maybe you're an artist, so you want to draw a picture for your deity, or a sculptor, so you want to make a statue for them, or a baker and you want to bake them a muffin with a fruit that they're associated with, like whatever, you can totally make it your own. And so pair media research, media including books and websites, pair that with your own personal intuition and what you sense and feel into with your own unique relationship with this entity, because it's going to look different for everybody. So I'm trying to think of like, Loki is known to accept such unhinged but so awesome offerings. I remember on Reddit I was looking, somebody had a broken crayon, like a broken green crayon on his altar, and then somebody had like a cup, because here's the thing too, when you're making offerings, it's encouraged to have a dedicated glass, a dedicated bowl, or a dedicated plate that you put the offerings on, especially if it's food. You dedicate it, you cleanse it, you consecrate it, you leave it on your altar, make sure it's clean and stuff, and you put the offerings on there. Somebody's designated offering cup for Loki was a dinosaur cup. It was like a plastic see-through cup with like little dinosaur stickers in it or something like that. So he likes silly little like offerings, because a lot of times people will be spending time with him and they'll be like eating a cookie or they'll be doing something and he's like, I want that. And they're like, it's a half-eaten cookie. He's like, yeah, I want it. And so they're like, okay. And they like put it on the plate. So typically you want to practice to build this muscle, but I think a way to know that a offering has been accepted is to feel into your intuition with it. So you have the item, hold it in your hands for a second, maybe close your eyes, charge it with some loving energy, and say a little prayer to your deity of like, I made this for you, and it represents XYZ because I appreciate you in XYZ ways. Here you go. Basically, you put it in your altar, and then you might get instant feedback. This has happened to me a few times where I would immediately get a message, or some type of like presence would enter my room and hug me and like acknowledge the offering, and we would talk for a little bit. They would enjoy it and then they would leave. Typically what I like to do, a good rule of thumb, is to leave it, if you can, with where you're living. Leave the offering on your altar if it's a food item or some type of like perishable thing. Leave it on there for maybe a day or two. No more than 2 days, I would say. And when you want to take it off of your altar, be sure that you give it back to the earth. Put it in your yard. If it's a drink, pour it over the grass, but tell the fairies first. Okay, be like, I am giving my offering to someone back to the earth in 3, 2, 1, and then you dump it. Do that. If it's a statue, if it's a piece of art, obviously that's going to be something that lives on your altar forever, and they'll love it and appreciate it. That's not something that's to be thrown away or is perishable in that case. What else? Yeah, basically just, it's a lot of trial and error too. Maybe you'll give something and there won't be much of a response, or you'll give something and there will be like a huge energetic response of like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. And then you're like, oh, they really like this. It takes practice. There's a little bit of trial and error with it. So yeah, very much balancing what you find out via research and what you find out in practice, your own self, and seeing what they enjoy the most. I need you to do a whole video about fairies now. Yes, maybe I will. Thank you for saying that, because I'm actually still trying to kind of do fairy research. There's a lot of etiquette that goes with working with fairies, and I get frustrated because people are like, oh, you gotta blah, blah, blah. You can't ever accept gifts from fairies. You can't ever da, da, da. And I'm like, me being an elemental, I'm like, I don't intuitively, at least for me personally, take this with a grain of salt. People have a lot of opinions. There's a lot of folklore about fairies, okay? But for me, I don't feel that for me. I don't, I feel more like they are my family. So I just don't understand some of these people saying, yeah, I see in the comments, right? I hear too many conflicting things. It scares me. Yes, it's like people, I think, in some ways kind of approach fairies overly cautiously. You want to be respectful always. And yes, there have been a lot of date back centuries in folklore of like fairy mischief and things like that. And you want to feel into what resonates with you most in the present moment. I think fostering a good relationship with the fairies in your yard, on your property, those who are guardians over maybe a forest that's near you, or a stream, or again, it's like elemental stuff. I have a whole separate video about, maybe I'll link. It's not directly related to fairies, but I feel like the elements and fairies kind of go hand in hand. So I'm gonna write down elemental vid link to put in the description box for later. But yeah, I don't know. It's like it's almost like this fear that surrounds fairies sometimes separates us from them in a way that I don't think is true. I'm just like, no worries about no. My friend is saying, sorry, I took you way off topic. This is also interesting. It's okay. It's okay. No. This has to do with, you know, working with entities, working with spirits. But yes, I think I will continue. I just have 3 more deities to name drop here just really quick. These were the most recent beings that have come in for me. All of them are dark goddesses. So we have Bastet, Lilith, and Hecate. Bastet came to me a little bit after Persephone. Just a little bit though, maybe like off by like 2 or 3 months. And she's a goddess of music and magic lady. She is the black cat. And she has helped me anchor into, not to sound cheesy, but like, I got the magic in me. So like anchor into the magic. And also cat symbolism has been so resonant with me literally my whole life. So that was really, really nice. I see house cats outside a lot, whether they belong to people or they're strays. Even to this day, like I see so many cats just in people's yards, just sitting there staring at me, or like walking down the street or whatever. And I very much think that's her. Cats are protectors. They are guardians, especially when it comes to defense against stuff on the other side. So yes, Bastet is a beautiful lady who I have spent some time with in meditation. I've learned about her. Definitely more of a casual relationship compared to the other deities I've mentioned. And Lilith is very, very new. And then Hecate, I've literally had one run-in with her, but it was very, very cool. Lilith kind of activated for me, I think it was last year, the villain era, the concept of the villain era, but then recognizing, oh, well, what do I consider villain behavior? And then breaking it down more by myself and being like, this is having boundaries. This is not bad. I've just been a people pleaser my whole life. So she has helped me see that, just her presence and her essence. And being able to even confront some remnants of the witch wound, even because as you guys might know, biblically, Lilith is kind of a controversial, strange kind of concept, how she was apparently Adam's first wife who refused to submit. And so they kind of wrote her out of the Bible in more recent translations. And she became a demon throughout history, just like evil, bad. Women be in a box and subservient all the time. So not good. So she is such a powerful figure for women, for LGBT people, for just strength in full expression and non-surrender. Very, very powerfully. So yes, that's been really cool. Again, kind of a casual sort of relationship. And then, as I said, with Hecate, I had one experience with her. She popped in literally one time. And I was on my way home from work. It was getting dark, and I had a really bad flare-up. I had pain and dizziness in my head. I was kind of overthinking a lot of things leading up to that pain setting in physically. So I think it was a sign of like I was looping and ruminating on things for too long. And it's amazing because in that moment, this song came on my Spotify shuffle. It was like a literal pagan song dedicated to Hecate. And she had come into my car and held me against her chest. And she said some encouraging words to me, the body, the soul, about like how pain is often just a symptom of like repression and things like that. It was like, it's hard for me to describe because in the moment it was just so potent, like you kind of had to be there. But what I can say is once the kind of interaction ended and she had faded away, my pain was gone. It was a really bad flare-up. I had a 20-minute drive to get back to my house. I was nervous I wasn't going to make it, that I would have to pull over. Because for those of you who might not know, I have lived with chronic inflammation and chronic pain for most of my life. It got really, really bad when I graduated high school, though. And so during my college years, I went on a very long and very, very expensive health journey to try and get some long-term relief. And thankfully, I can sit here and say that I have experienced and am experiencing way more relief than I used to. But it was one of those nights where, just like I have had to do in the past, I was so nervous that I'd have to pull over. Because, you know, you got to pull over, you got to park the car, lay in the back seat. Sometimes I would do that in a parking lot somewhere for like 40 minutes. And back when I used to live with my parents, I would have to call them being like, hey, I'm okay. I know I'm late coming home from work. I am in a parking lot right now in town name that's like 20 minutes away or whatever the F. So I'll keep you posted, but know that I'm okay. Like, I've had to do that so many times. It's ridiculous. So I thought it was going to be one of those because it was bad. It was really bad. She let go of the away, gone. I can't make it up. And I made a recording about it. I did like an audio diary recording of it, made it home just fine, didn't have to stop at all. Like what? So that was that was amazing and very powerful. And it is about that time, you guys. We've been together for 49 minutes and 13 seconds. So thank you guys so much for watching. Those are all of the deities that I have ever crossed paths with, have had the pleasure of working with in some way, shape, or form. And they won't be the last, hopefully. We're going to see who kind of comes through for me during the rest of my journey here in this life. So before I sign off here, are there any questions? I'm going to just look at the chat. I'm going to wait a couple seconds to see if there is anything. Thank you for joining me. I'm glad I could take you guys through that little journey. This was an idea I had for like a video for a while, but I thought oh, you know what? This could actually be interactive and fun to do it live instead. So I'm glad that I did. And I'm not seeing anything in the chat, anything new that is. I'm not seeing any questions or anything. So I think I'm going to go ahead and let you guys go. Thank you so much for watching. I have a lot of big things coming. I made amazing progress today with my one-on-one sessions. Those have been on hiatus for almost a year, you guys. So I'm actually, my platforms, my plans, my video plans, my offerings one-on-one. I'm really excited. It's kind of exhausting because there's a lot that I like want to do and is in the works, and I'm like, oh. So I'm trying to take it at a good pace. So thank you guys so much for showing up. I appreciate every single one of you. You can find all of my other presences and all my other goodies online in the links in my bio on my channel. And wherever you may be, I'm wishing you a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.